Okay. The first one we have is the EAR, the estimated average requirement. This one we never learn about, we never hear about, because it's what everything else is based off of. Okay. From this number, from this value, this estimated average requirement, this is what we use to extrapolate out the recommended dietary allowance, the RDA. Okay. So what the hell is the EAR? All right, well, it's the amount of a nutrient that meets the needs for 50%. Half. Average, fantastic, makes sense. Of healthy peeps in a particular age group, or males or females, sex group. Okay. Biological male, that's all I'm talking about when it comes to sex. Okay. When it comes to going back and forth and changing it, I don't know. Right? I don't know. When you have certain amount of sex hormone flowing in you, then you're of that sex. Okay, so we're just going to keep it simple, males and females. Right. I had somebody question one time what that means for trans. I honestly don't know. I've not seen any scientific research on it, or those that have both sex organs. I've not seen any scientific data on it. It's not to me, it's not out there. It's just I have never seen it. I've never found it. Okay. So for the EAR, it's 50% of healthy individuals in a particular age group. All of these are going to be healthy. Okay. All of these are, we're assuming healthy. Because if you're not healthy, then there's going to be an increased nutrient demand somewhere. Okay. So all of these are going to be established for healthy individuals. Okay. So to establish this estimated average requirement, the Food and Nutrition Board has to identify some kind of physiological marker. What would be a physiological marker? Heart rate, skin temperature. Those would be examples. Okay. And, taking the blood, taking the urine, looking for an enzyme product. Right. Something that we can measure. Something that we can measure that, really reflects proper functioning. Okay. That's how we do it. That's how we figure it out. We just don't go, that person looks really healthy. Boom, check it off. Okay. No, we find something, we find some kind of physiological marker, find it, we measure it, and then we measure it and test it against everybody else. Okay. From that ear, we get the RDA, and that's your recommended dietary allowance. Okay. Not recommended daily allowance, recommended dietary allowance. It is daily. This is for daily intake. Okay. So dietary and daily usually get flip-flopped out, but it does technically stand for dietary. I find myself saying recommended daily allowance as well. Okay. But it's recommended dietary. So from the ear, I get the RDA. The RDA is the nutrient demand for, again, healthy individuals, but nearly all. Average 50%. Recommended dietary allowance is for nearly all individuals. What's nearly all? About 98%. Okay, 98%. How do we know that to not go to 100? Because that's the margin of safety. Okay, that wiggle room of 2%, I know doesn't seem very big, but that margin of safety is added, and there you go. So what does that mean? That means for 98% of us in this room, the RDA of pick something, is fine at this level. Let's just say, 2 milligrams. But for a small amount of the populace, 2%, they can consume anywhere from 2.3 to 5 milligrams and be fine. Okay. High for some, but not for everybody. So that's what this built-in little 2%. Okay. That's why that's there. First, we figure out the EAR, then we can figure out the RDA from that. Okay. So does that mean the RDA is great for everybody? No, everybody would assume that everything means 100%. And that's obviously not the case. So how do you know you're in that 2%? What do? You may exercise a hell of a lot more. So you may have a physical, obvious thing that you can see in yourself or that you can measure. And that tells you that you are in this 2% and you may need a little bit more of stuff. As it turns out, we can probably do a lot more than the RDA and be quote unquote perfectly fine. I mean, if you've ever read the back of a vitamin label, right? It says there's like 3,000 of this, 3,000 of your RDA. It's like, holy smokes. If you eat really healthy and then you take a supplement, a multivitamin, let's say, and it's 3,000 of your RDA, I mean, you got 3,000 and then let's say there's another 500 units in your food over the course of that day. I mean, you can overshoot that RDA a whole hell of a lot. Now, long term, can that have effects? Yeah. But it also says, if you eat really healthy, do you really need a multivitamin? Probably not under most circumstances. Okay. Are you outside working? Cold day, you don't sweat so much. Hot day, you're sweating a whole hell of a lot. You're going to lose a lot more vitamins. Okay. Through water movement, sweat, urine formation. You're going to drink more. You're going to dilute it out. You're going to get rid of it. So there's going to be cases where you probably may need supplements or multivitamin, but there's a lot of times you're going to find out that you probably don't need a supplement. And when you do your diet analysis, you will be very amazed at what you do. Okay. I ask that you don't do supplements if you can afford to. Okay. What does that mean? What the hell do you mean by afford, doc? If you have a condition that requires you to take certain medications or certain vitamins, please continue to take them. I don't want you to die. One semester, I had this lady almost like pass out and die one time because she stopped taking her medication. I just was like, oh my God. So please don't stop taking your medications. Okay. If your life requires you to take this certain B vitamin because you have a condition, please continue to take that B vitamin, please. Okay. Don't drop dead and die on me. It's not worth it. Okay. The question is, I think someone's asking about that one. While I'm looking at this other question, does overshooting your RDA lead to overnutrition? Liberty? Yes, it does. Okay. And does this mean, okay, I'm starting to freak out now because I take a multivitamin, I really eat really well. Okay, you're fine. Okay, you're fine. When it comes to this overnutrition, you're talking many years to really start seeing some symptoms and whatnot. Okay, so just because you may supplement, okay, doesn't mean that you're going to be providing more nutrients to yourself than you should. Doesn't mean it's going to initially cause negative health outcomes. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Because I eat really stupid healthy and I take a multivitamin. So in most cases, for some nutrients, I do get overnutrition with it. But in some things, I'm right spot on. So I don't worry about it just because of lifestyle choices that I have. Calvin is asking what negative things come from overnutrition. What are the downfalls? Carla is asking what are the downfalls of overnutrition? Well, it really depends on the nutrient, guys. Certain B vitamins, when you consume too much of them, that causes you to have numbness and tingling in all of your appendages. Some other B vitamins, when you take too much of those, will cause vasodilation and all your blood vessels open up. They come to the surface of the skin and you look like a walking red person. Some, when you take too much of it, will cause intestinal cramping. And we'll talk about these when we get into the vitamins and minerals, and that's what'll make some of it really fun. Because, and some of them can cause cancer when you consume them in very, very, very high amounts. And usually that's supplementation at that point, over supplementation at that point. And for some of those are medically prescribed numbers for the amounts that you consume as well. So there's one where if you're somebody who works underground, you're exposed to manganese a lot more in the dust from the rocks and whatnot. And that causes you to have psychological breakdowns, suicidal thoughts. So yeah, there's a bunch of fun ones out there. And we'll look at those when we get into the vitamins and minerals in the third unit of the class. The next one here is adequate intake. Adequate intakes are awesome. Adequate intakes are established because there is no known deficiency to that nutrient. And there are a number of these things, a number of these nutrients, vitamins and minerals that do just have an adequate intake. They don't have an RDA at all. No established deficiency disease. If there's no known deficiency, you just take this much and it's fine. For some that have no deficiencies and no toxicities, adequate intake is all that's established. Okay. How do we know? I mean, diets of healthy people are recorded. Average intakes of the nutrients are then estimated from that, and that's how they get an adequate intake. So if there's no information at all out there to suggest any deficiency issues, again, an AI is all you get. And there are some things that are like that. And there are some AIs that we will know. There are some RDAs that we will have to know. Not every single one, but just some of the most important ones, the ones that we have issues with getting here in the States. But again, that's unit 3. Upper level, sometimes referred to as upper level or tolerable upper level intake. They are both the same thing. One version of the book used one form, another version used the other form, and I can't remember which one used which anymore at this point in my life. But tolerable upper level. Okay, I'm just going to highlight a few things here that are pretty important. When it comes to upper level or tolerable upper level intake, these are going to be numbers that are generally going to be associated with supplementation. In fact, there's a lot of these that have toxicities, a lot of these vitamins and minerals that have toxicities that we only know of recently in the last 20 years or so, 20, 30 years, probably 30 years now. I'm old. But because of oversupplementation. There's a study that suggests vitamin E can help prevent cancer. Fantastic. People started taking vitamin E in the truckload. And then after a handful of years with people taking a very high level of vitamin E, because who wants the C word, that they started seeing a lot of toxicity events. And actually I believe vitamin E in super high doses can actually cause a few different forms of cancer as well. So the thing that it helps prevents, it can also cause in super high amounts. If you just consume real food, these are very unlikely to get to this upper level limit. But if you supplement, very high. What is the upper level limit? Again, we'll discuss some of this with the vitamins and minerals. I'll make reference to it. I don't ask you to know it, but we'll make reference to some of these because a lot of these are really, really, really high. And then, just to kind of give you a visual representation, there's your recommended daily or recommended dietary allowance. See, I do it too. An adequate intake, very low risk for developing toxicity, very low risk for developing a deficiency if you consume that. If you go above that upper level limit, that's what's considered safe. Anything else is considered unsafe up in this region. Okay, unsafe. Ensuring you get the RDA ensures that you get above the minimums. And when you have a minimum, you have a much higher risk for some diseases, some deficiency diseases. Okay. Some are very obvious, some not, excuse me, some not so much. And we'll look at that in Unit 3 a hell of a lot more. EAR, RDA, AI, and the UL, those 4 individual creatures are all associated with vitamins, minerals. The next 2 are for energy, are for macros. Okay, that is the distinct difference between the first 4 and the last 2. EER, estimated energy requirement, is the amount of energy you need to intake. What in the hell is energy? Well, I don't consume energy. Yes, you do. You consume calories, right? Big C calories. Big C. Right? So this is the amount of calories you need to consume to maintain your weight. It's all about calories. It always is. How much weight you lose, how much weight you gain is dependent upon the calories you consume. Love your weight? Fantastic. Eat those calories to maintain that weight. How do you know? Weigh yourself every day. Take the average throughout the week. Did you gain weight that week? Okay, look at what you ate that week. Now you need to start figuring, okay, maybe I'll take, this one little thing away. Maybe I'll take out, these 50 calories. See if that is the key. EER, estimated energy requirement, takes into account all these things. And we will look at this concept in Unit 4 again. Okay. How much energy you need to consume is part of helping to maintain a normal weight. Again, we look at that in chapter 13 or 15, I can't remember. What goes into EER? How much activity do you do? If you are super duper active, that's a different mathematical part of the equation. And so you need to consume a hell of a lot more. Do you not exercise at all? That changes that mathematical equivalent there that's put there, and you have to consume less. Height, weight. If you're really tall, you're going to expend more energy to maintain that self. If you're shorter, you don't have to use as much energy to maintain that self. You don't have a long distance to travel. Weight the same way. More weight, more maintaining of that weight. More energy is going to be needed to maintain that weight. Males, females, I'm sorry, ladies, males just need more energy. They burn more energy. They have greater muscle mass, burn more calories. It's not to say you can't, but men burn more than women. I know. I'm sorry. Life stage, babies can consume everything. As long as, well, babies, they're active. Children can consume a whole hell of a lot of energy per body weight size, per pound of body weight. They consume a hell of a lot more calories compared to us. Okay. Actively growing, moving. Somebody in their 80s doesn't need to have as much energy. They're not burning as much. They're not moving as much. Okay. The last thing I want to get into today, and then we'll pause, and then I got a question here I'll address, is AMDRs. AMDR stands for the acceptable macronutrient distribution range. For me, boys and girls, AMDR, RDA, those are truly the ones on the daily that I interact with. Okay. I don't worry about adequate intake. When it comes to adequate intake, that just tells me that, you know what, no one's ever had a deficiency of it. If it's not in my supplement, a multivitamin, multimineral supplement, then I know I'm probably getting it somewhere in my diet. Okay, I got some vitamins, I got vegetables, I got fruit, I got all sorts of clean stuff in that diet. I know it's got to be in there somewhere. So I don't really look for it unless I feel like I need to go find it and supplement it. Okay, so from an application standpoint, I get it. We probably only use these two, AMDRs and RDAs. Okay, but you should know what all of these are. What is the AMDR? The AMDR is the range for which how much energy from your macros should go into your diet, daily. So what does that mean? So 45 to 65% of all of the calories in your diet can come from carbohydrates, 20 to 35% from fats, 10 to 35% from protein. You don't feel like you're losing enough weight. Let's say you're trying to lose weight. Okay, let's say you're doing maybe 50%, well, let's do 60% carbs, 20% fat, maybe 15% protein. Well, maybe up your protein percentage in your diet a little bit to 20%. Increase your fat maybe to 25%. Drop down your carbs a little bit to 40% or 50%. And that's how you can play around with these diets of yours to truly figure out how much energy, how many calories do I need to be eating every day to get to where I want to be. And you may want to lose 20, 30 pounds. Okay, that's fine. It's fantastic. That is a year-long goal. That is a 2-year-long goal for probably most of us. Okay. In the short term, you're probably going to lose maybe a pound a week. Maybe a pound a week. If you're really curious right now, I mean, you're going to get all this nonsense when you do your diet analysis. Okay, you're going to be able to see kind of where you're at. Do you get the RDA, the adequate intake, the AMDR? Do you hit those markers? Do you not? What kind of chronic health issues does this open you up to? You'll be able to figure that out. You want to play with it now? If you go to that little thing there, that takes you to the U.S. Department of Agriculture's DRI tool. That allows you to look at all your specific RDAs, AIs, AMDRs. It gives you a lot of fantastic, how much EER, how much energy you need to be consuming as well. Let me pull up the chat real quick.